The stream is live.
Yes.
Funny how that it doesn't. It says the stream is live, not to the host, but to everybody who's on the stream.
Right.
It
With
says something
different message.
different to the host. It's like, why?
All right. Yeah, at least somebody's here waiting for us. Hi, Missing Mars.
Hello there. Okay. Mars is right up in the sky where it always is. It's not missing at all.
Mars, the planet that will be colonized soon. Or maybe not.
By robots. It's going to be colonized by robots.
Yeah.
Welcome to Portugal, everyone.
And here's the Goblin. Yeah. Tonight we are in Portugal. This is the European connection. There will be insufferable people and 90s ponytails. And Higgy Pop. Hi, Higgy. Straight from the Hawk's Nest. And Higgy likes to show us his comics, so we will have to show him comics. Because Higgy can do a 15-minute video just showing comics that he bought, and he never loses his enthusiasm.
I can show you a European comic I bought.
Ooh, let's see, European comic.
Published by Alien Books. I think it's from the early 80s.
Yes.
Black Star.
Yes, you mean this one?
No, that's L'Etoile Noir.
Yeah, the L'Etoile Noir. It's Irish or something.
Ricardo Barrio.
Barreiro.
And
Barreiro.
Jimenez.
No. This is your chance, Jared. You will roll the R's. Roll the R's for us. Come on, you can do it. Barreiro. Almost there. Yeah, you can. If you practice, you'll get it.
And Juan Jimenez.
Juan Jimenez.
The Z book.
Yeah, the Z is pronounced in Spain. Jimenez. But they're from Argentina, both of them.
Oh, okay. A new wave sci-fi classic published for the first time in English.
Is it? Which year is that from?
This just came out this week.
Wow, that thing had never been published.
No.
Damn. Here's the thing. These guys. So Jimenez died a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, but Barreiro died in 1999, a few months before he turned 50. And these guys together, they already had an impressive body of work. The most famous of which is actually a war aviation strip called As de Pique, Ace of Spades. They also had this weird, not exactly sci-fi comic. It's set in a city that goes on for miles and it's almost completely empty. So it was called The City. It was originally published in Italy. 1 month later, it was published in Spain. So these guys, although they were Argentinian, they were living in Spain since the early 80s because of the Argentinian political regime. And Jimenez stayed there for many years, even after he retired, and his health was no longer on the top.
It's got a weird floppy feel.
Yeah, that thing. Does that thing have a spine?
It's got a spine, but usually when things have spine, they have like a cardstock cover of some kind. This isn't quite self-covered; it's a little thicker, but it's still it's floppier than your normal like graphic album format one.
So it's like a newsstand magazine.
Yeah, it's more like a newsstand magazine. I don't know if it's short run printed or what. But it's printed well. The art is terrific. These guys have done stuff, boy. You could tell it wasn't their first comic. There's the guy in a spacesuit with a big gun.
Yeah, because the version I have, this isn't even the first French edition. This is the second one. The first one, this is from 1993. The original one is from 1982, and it had a different cover, and it was also a different publisher.
Yeah, this is Alien Books, who's taken over the Valiant stuff. Well, they've also been publishing. They did that 3 graphic novel one that I didn't pick up called I Dragon or something like that. Dragon something that I mentioned like a month or so ago. I'll buy it and store it with my heavy metals.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, it's material that could have been published in heavy metal, but wasn't.
Right. What is this? 48 pages?
Yeah. And it's a full story. I have another Jimenez French graphic novel, but it's a collection of short stories.
Though I have to say, this was getting near the end, and I was like, how are they going to wrap this up by the end? They found a way, but I was just like, doesn't seem like they can wrap it up. I mean, I'm just got a few pages left here. Black, but good. I mean, like I said, and one of the reasons I bought this is because for years I always said I'd like to read more European graphic novels. So now that they're making some available, I'll have to buy them.
Yeah, although it's a European graphic novel made by South Americans.
Yeah.
but these guys were well known in Europe, both of them, and both in Spain and Italy. Their material was very popular.
Of course, Dragon. They mentioned I Dragon here. I guess they did that one too.
Yeah, they did. They did. It's less well known. Jimenez is probably best known. If you enjoy European comics, Jimenez is best known as the artist on the Saga of the Met Varens, which is a spin-off of the Incal.
I started reading some of that digitally recently. That was the one I was like, this story is just so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jodorowsky is still wrote the Meta Barons saga, but Jimenez replaced Mobius as the artist because Mobius only did the first 3 Incal books.
And one of the reasons I didn't get I Dragon was only because it was 3 volumes, $13 a piece. That's $39. And I was like, they must want to put it out in 1 volume. Which they haven't yet, but I think it was like there was some like social media ad I saw for this book or maybe Valiant or Alien books in general. And in the bookshelf behind the guy, they had a 1-volume set of I Dragon. I'm like, there's the one I want. I don't know if they were it was new, they were publishing it, or it was published somewhere. But I'm like, that's what I want, a 1-volume set of I Dragon. That's not going to be $40.
It may be $40.
It may be, but in 8 months on Amazon, it'll be a lot cheaper.
Sure, I guess, but I'm not sure if you should wait up for it. Since while the concept of the intégral is now well established in France, I'm not sure that an American publisher is going to want to put out a collected edition of European-sized graphic novels.
You might be right there. You might
the format is not ideal for American printing, or is that Canadian printing?
Yeah, this art is looking. I don't know where. Let's see if it tells us where it's printed. Director of Alien Books, printed in China. This is Chinese printing.
Okay. They could make it work, but if they do it, it still won't be cheap.
No. Cover by Ariel Olivetti.
Yeah, because Jimenez is dead. Hey, Sequential Geek is here. What's up?
Hello there. There's an AO in there too. I was wondering what that was. I was like, why is there a 40 there? It's an AO.
Let me whoops, no, not this one. Forgot how to. Yeah, I forgot. Wait a second. Solo layout. There you can show stuff.
There's the cover. We'll show you a little inside.
Mm-hmm.
Where's a more exciting inside page? There we go.
Yeah, you translate it into English, and all of a sudden the speech bubbles are a lot. Have a lot of white in them.
There's some nice spaceship drawings.
Yeah. Jimenez was very good at doing technological stuff.
Oh, I made a thumbs down somehow.
Yeah.
All right, you can take me off solo now. I'll put this back.
Yeah, sequential
That
geek
looks awesome.
says that looks
It
awesome.
does.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
It looks
You
really, and it read beautifully. I mean, the storytelling was just wonderful.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, that's what I said as I was reading it. Wow, these guys are really good.
Yeah, these are the names that always escape Americans because you never have proper access to them.
Yeah.
And in the rest of the world, we know them as some of the best storytellers in
some of the
history of
greats.
comics. Yeah, definitely.
Some of the greats. We just don't know them. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Black Star.
So,
and it's funny, there's another more recent comic called Black Star. That's got it's like I forget what, because when 3-4 weeks ago when this showed up in my final order cutoff email, I tried to find more information about it to see if I could find out more about it, to see if I wanted it or not. And some other Black Star popped up. I'm like, no, this isn't the same thing.
What did they use?
It looks like pen and ink in watercolor.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Right, because usually when you do watercolors for comics, the figures aren't inked in black, and these ones are.
Yeah, this is definitely an older. This isn't the what would I call it? The John J. Muth, or who's the guy who did Meltdown, Havoc,
John
and
J. Muth
Wolverine?
and Kent Williams. Yeah,
Kent Williams. There we go. I had the K. That was it. That's a different watercolor style than this. This is an older watercolor style.
Yeah, this is not Dan O'Bannon. Black Star, originally L'Etoile Noire, or in Spanish Estrella Negra, was made by Juan Jimenez and written by Ricardo Barreiro. So this is an Argentinian team that was working in Spain at the time.
And it's a new wave sci-fi classic.
Yeah, I could call it new wave. There were when we had science fiction comics in European comics, the stories were not meant to be overly technical. There was not much attention on the technology. It was more aesthetics.
Right.
It's more about the aesthetics.
Also what's also called space opera.
Yeah, definitely. Which is, I suppose, why Jimenez was so good at doing the meta barons, because the world of the Incal is it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's that technocratic space city where you have cities which are miles high, and all the technology is weird.
And also I notice in a lot of those things too, there's always sort of an authoritarian government.
Yeah.
But they're not micromanaging.
Right.
There's plenty of room for crime or misbehaving.
This isn't exactly cyberpunk. So the way the society is set up looks like cyberpunk, but you have you have elements of epic fiction in the way their government works, which is why the Metabarons looks more like epic fantasy, because it's set in the same universe, but you're going through a family of warrior nobles. So it's a because and those would be the ancestors of the Metabaron who appears on the Incal, and that's the thing that Jimenez does in the Incal universe. So you can do that. There's a comic there's a series that focuses on the rulers of the church that is in charge of the world of the Incal, the techno priests, and I think those were published in English.
Well, this is the first time published in English.
But I hope they do more Jimenez. I'm not sure that, and since they did something with dragons before this one, maybe they'll do Ace of Spades. That'll be interesting because you don't really see war comics nowadays. There's 62 Lefty Blues, yeah. You got an MMA. Of course, you got an MMA fighter. I have no idea who that guy is. He stole my name.
Stole your name and got famous.
Mm-hmm.
How annoying. Now, let's see. One of the things I picked up, well, I shouldn't even say I picked this up. It was given to me at last Sunday. I was at Mocha Fest in NYC. For those who don't know, that's the Museum of Comics and Cartoon Art. Now they're owned by the Society of Illustrators. Gangrene.
Oh yeah, I have the French edition of that one too.
Did Wilson and Chris get their Portuguese customers on time? No,
no.
They didn't get their passports, so they're somewhere else.
Wilson is doing something important for real people.
He's teaching a lettering class at SVA.
Yes,
teaching.
And Chris must be stuck at the border because they don't let the officer claw some artwork through. No, Chris didn't tell us what he was doing.
We haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks since the show he was at. We haven't. I hope he lived through the show. Maybe he got the con crud and has been sick,
or maybe he's busy.
I think next week his first covers come out. The society, the official handbook ones, because I think next week is my 21 comic week, which is more than I've ever gotten. That's at least 2 weeks worth of comics for me. That might be the most comics I've gotten in a single week in forever.
Well, if you're lucky, half of those will be late.
But anyway, Mocha Fest. One of the guys came up to me. His name is Jesse March, not the Tarzan artist, Jesse March.
No, that's Jesse Marsh.
Jesse, I think that's it. It's Jesse Marsh, right? Where does name go? Jesse Marsh, yes.
Yeah.
But not he's a student at the Kubert School. And former bullpenner who I knew, Michael Kreger, also creator of The Zone, which came out in Dark Horse Presents many, many years ago. He's one of his teachers. Kreger's been a long-time teacher at the Kubert School. And so he gave me his Ghoul, I believe it's called Gool. So this is put out by a bunch of Kubert students. Interesting punk drawings and stuff.
Hold on, let me put you on solo.
I'll show you a few. It's got some drawings. There's the back cover. Ooh. It's got some comic stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty well done. It's got a poster in here too. Hold on. Looks like a guy singing.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. So I think he said I met him last year at Mocha Fest. So he sought me out this year to give me this. Jesse Marsh. So some pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ghoul number 11, January. I guess music is the theme. January 2025 is the theme.
And it's good to see that the Kubert School is teaching the kids how to set up a scene.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You can always tell that a bunch of guys want to work in comics. That what they like doing is drawing pinups.
Yep.
And those they seem to be on their way to developing storytelling chops.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. Is a nice package. Ghoul number 11.
Number 11. So it's sort of an ongoing. Mm-hmm.
Maybe them doing one a semester or something. I don't know. I think Kubert School is a 3-year school.
Okay.
Tit Goblin. I'm glad kids are still into old school underground stuff. Yeah, you'll find some of them that are.
Yeah, to tell the truth, I think it's more likely that you'll find kids into underground stuff and more aware of old underground stuff than kids who want to read old Marvel comics.
Old Marvel comics.
Anything else from Mocha?
Yep. Let's see. We'll show you the Pratt. This is Static Fish. This is from fall 23. I meant to get this one last year and didn't, so I got it this year. And they've got a new one coming out soon. Static Fish is the name of the comic book club at Pratt. And they've been putting this out for 40 years. Matter of fact, the theme to the new one is 40 years midlife crisis. It's not out yet.
No.
But I'll probably be getting that. But this one's pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty big, chunky book.
Man.
I think there are more young people wanting to make comics than jobs for young people wanting to make comics.
And look at the variety of styles inside.
Yeah.
Not one story is like the other.
Tons of different things. Some of them were my students, though I didn't teach them cartooning. I taught them how to put a book together. And it's funny, they you can take me off solo now. They also one of the guys who's doing this, Finn, just told me he was have you seen any of those Simon Hanselman booklets he created? No, I don't think I have. It's nothing intellectual, but it's fun. I like fun. But he said they interviewed former Marvel editor who I knew, Marcus McLaurin. He was an editor for the Epic line in the 90s. And he did Static Fish in his day. That's why they're interviewing him for the 40th anniversary one.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah.
Speaking of names from the Epic line in the early 90s, Margaret Clark died.
Margaret Clark died. That's right. I forgot that. I saw that this week. She was she was there for a couple of years when I first started. She was nice. She was the Epic. She kind of had a reputation as a no-nonsense person, but she indulged in nonsense. Like with
I think I may have a couple of things that she actually wrote, not edited.
Oh yeah,
because she did some things in the Shadowline saga. I think at the time they fired the writers or something because that thing was making money.
Yeah, I remember her from my early Marvel days, doing some epic stuff in the bullpen. My friend Ed made her curtsy as she delivered work. I don't. It was trying to make somebody else curtsy. Because, like I said,
Okay.
Margaret Clark has sort of a no nonsense reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Hey, I learned to curtsy in the theater. Let me show you my curtsy." So she showed us this real theatrical curtsy, which is, in case you don't know what curtsying, that's when it was sort of the equivalent of a bow for women, except you had to like pull your skirt out and bend your knees a certain way. So
Well, my
that's what.
lunchtime is here.
Oh, werewolf by
I'm
lunchtime.
only watching because my cat woke me up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Werewolf's cat, for waking your master up.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so,
In case you're wondering why you're watching this here, the our regular internet chat
streaming aid.
streaming provider is acting up and wants us to pay for things, and we don't
Yes.
like that.
StreamYard cut down the amount of free hours from, I don't
Well,
know, it was up around 12, I think.
it was 20.
5.
It was 20. Yeah, it was from 20 to 5. But
No,
how
it
to
wasn't.
check?
It wasn't 20 because I used to get a notification if there were 5 Fridays in a month that I'd gone. So, and we do 3 hours, just about 3 hours a week. So 5 times 3 is 15. So it's probably around 15, maybe. I don't
I'm pretty
think it was
sure.
20, but I don't know.
I'm
But
pretty sure it
it's
was
now
still 20.
5.
But
It's now
I'll have
5.
to check something because
Yeah.
I noticed that what they mean is 5 hours of storage per month. So one thing that I'm going to try and do is all of my old live streams are still stored in StreamYard, even though they're already up on Facebook. So I'm going to delete them. I'm going to try to delete them and see if that helps, because now
Delete it. I didn't think anything was stored on StreamYard.
it is that's the thing. You can watch the thing. You can still watch the things on StreamYard and download them from there.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look at that too then.
Yeah. The new Asterix album will be in Portugal. You may recognize a few places. Yes, that's already being advertised. Even the promo artwork shows Asterix walking on the well, we have a type of cobblestones that make artwork patterns, which only we bother doing, and we have them on our streets. And the promo art shows Asterix walking on one of those cobblestones patterns. This is something that even before, when both Goscinny and Uderzo were alive, they threatened to do. They never did. But occasionally we would see Lusitanian characters, and we knew those were the Portuguese ones. So we'll see how it goes. I think the new guys who are doing Asterix after Uderzo sold the property to Hachette. They've been doing some fun things with the non-Gaulish and non-Roman characters. Because the idea of Asterix is that you'll find that the names are Gauls, Bretons, Romans, Goths, Numidians, Carthaginians, but they're actually making fun of the current peoples who are descendant of all of those classic antiquity peoples. I remember when they did Asterix and the Goths. So they go into Gothland, right across the border. Of course, at the time, the real Goths were still living by the Black Sea, but they crossed the Rhine from Gaul to Gothland because they crossed the Rhine from France to Germany. And so the Visigoths, which are the Goths from the west, they make fun of the Ostrogoths, who are the Goths from the east, because the book was made before the fall of the Berlin Wall. So yeah, when it's always about making fun. Yeah, Marcinelle School, exactly. Charleroi. Although Asterix was the first property that was developed for Pilote, because Pilote was an attempt by the French to finally have their magazines, because the French-speaking comic industry was set up in Belgium, even though a lot of the writers and artists were now French. There will never be an Asterix in Australia. No, I don't think so. There was an Asterix in America. There was. It's not called Asterix in America. It's the Asterix and Obelix. They get stuck in they're sailing. They hit a storm, and the storm takes them all across the Atlantic, and they land in the and they land in North America, and they run into some Native Americans. Also, at the same time, see, this is why all those were ahistorical, because Leif Erikson, who only got to North America 1,000 years later, is also landing on North America. So you have the Native Americans, the Vikings, who don't exist yet, and the two lost Gauls, all meeting in the United States.
All you needed is an Irish monk in the boat, and you'll have a complete set.
There is not an Asterix in Hibernia. Maybe you should fix that.
Huh.
Does it have Biggest Dickus from Monty Python? Huh. Well, not exactly. There's a lot of wordplay in Asterix, which kind of gets lost in a lot of translations. But many of the Roman names are puns. They're safe puns. There's no Biggest Dickus, because Asterix, while it's something that can be that's understood by adults, needs to be read by children as well. So they're not going to do a Biggest Dickus joke. But all of the characters' names are, for all intents and purposes, puns.
Another thing I got from Mocha, I'm gonna post it tomorrow. Take a little video of me walking around when I first got there, which may be too fast. I think I walked too fast. But anyway, instead of walking all around and finding stuff to get, I bought some stuff from the two guys who were at the table next to me. That seemed much more expedient. And one of the things is Hell, Florida. By Tom Bone. What does it say here? 60 pages of funny animals on their worst behavior. So it's funny animals drinking and smoking and dancing.
Yeah. Furry degeneracy.
Instagram, Tom Bone Comics, if you want to see more. If you want to read all that, go right ahead. I can't. Amber and Erica are stuck in their college town while they wait for adulthood to kick in. The girls work in a restaurant and live in a cheap apartment on the wrong side of the tracks. Now they're friends with the sorts of people who they never would have hung out with before graduation. Drug dealers, dropouts, and a trailer park princess. This is the first printed collection of Hell, Florida, America's only stoner furry soap opera comic, made using 100% traditional media. So I wonder if he marker colored it. Looks like markers could be.
Yeah.
So got that one to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Little mini.
So yeah, Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, there's an album where Laurel and Hardy show up as Romans. There's one album where there's a druid who's working for the Romans. Is the enemy, and his name is 006. Even in the French edition, it's called 006 because all the names of the characters of the Gauls end in X. So that's the part of the joke. It's 006, but it's Sean Connery. But it's Sean Connery already with the long hair and mustache.
Okay.
But that's part of the joke.
Huh.
Every French guy to get me to. I've never gotten it. It's not Wolverine. No, but you have a super strength enhancer.
You're supposed to read the comment out loud, not just to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And Ranger Sly is here. Hi, Ranger Sly.
Hello there. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Anthropomorphism is used by Alex Graham's Dog Biscuits and Simon Hanselman's story. I'm not familiar. I've never heard of Dog Biscuits, so I don't know. An indie trend. Well, yeah, you can say that it's an indie trend in a way. I mean, you have Omaha the Cat Dancer, and what was that thing that I forgot about? It was even in Wizard once in Tom Palmer Jr.'s pages.
Huh.
Made by that guy from Texas.
Oh, Hep Cats.
Hep Cats, yeah.
Hep Cats. I've got some issues of that, but not all of it.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose they think that if they show the animals on their worst behavior, it gets a pass. It doesn't really.
Let's see. The last thing I got at Mocha Fest is this big one, The Well by John Allen. He was sitting next to me too. I think there's a top shelf book, so it's a big one. It's got some nice art. Once again, it looks like kids' artwork, but I'm pretty sure it's adult themed.
Some things look like they're drawn on paint.
Yeah. You know what I think it is too? I don't know I don't think it's him. Sometimes things that are like animation influenced really stick to their character drawings.
Yeah.
Like I think that comes from out of that school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what is this one? Veronica with a K is 24 and tired. Tired of her crummy boyfriend, of living with her parents, of feeling stalled out while everyone else moved on. With a new job coding software for a wellness company that makes brain-boosting energy drinks, she finally has a chance to turn things around. At this rate, Veronica may never feel tired again. But as she gets more comfortable with the office and the people in it, Veronica stumbles upon surprises in the dark that leave her questioning everything she thought she knew about the world and about herself. I don't know what she found in the dark, but...
Okay. That's what we got. Asterix was the best. Yeah. As long as it was done by the original creators, Goscinny and Uderzo. Here's the thing. After Goscinny died, the first album written by Uderzo was still good. The second one, you notice a decline in quality because Uderzo is not an idea man. After a while, Uderzo was letting his assistants do the brunt of the artwork, and you could tell. And a lot of the stories, they're not memorable at all. Everyone was wondering what the hell was going on, because if you were not familiar with how our French creator works, if they're well established, they will have an assistant or an army of assistants, and they let the assistants do a lot of the work. But then the quality does suffer because they are not as good as the person that they're working for. The current guys who are doing it after Uderzo had sold the property, Ferry and Conrad, I think that they're very good. I think that they're doing a very interesting job. It's not typical traditional Asterix, but then it's not 60 years ago anymore. But they're doing what I think is a very interesting work, and for a new generation of readers, that definitely works. Sequential Geek says anthropomorphism is trending again. I mean, yeah, if you've noticed it, it's probably true. I'm not on top of it, but if you've seen it on a couple of properties at the same time, there's probably a few people doing it. Yeah, Howler Mouse is a fan of AppCats. Yeah, Martin Wagner. That looks hard to read with its fast spine.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of small, and let's hope it opens well.
How many pages does it have?
Let's see if it's got page number. A lot of these books don't have page numbers, so
yeah.
Oh, it does. 716.
Ooh, that is not a good format for 700 pages.
It opens pretty well.
I suppose, yeah.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, I was going to say Matt Fury's Pepe edition. So yeah, like I say, if you've noticed it and you can point out the examples, then there probably is a trend right now for anthropomorphism. Just like I agree with you about the post Goscinny Uderzo Asterix. First one seems like everything was still the same. This is Asterix and the Belgians. I suppose that Goscinny had at least come up with some sort of plot outline, and they had discussed it before he died. But he got downhill. The last one that's interesting is the 1,000 hours of Asterix, and after that, Asterix in Spain. Nope. And Asterix and the Actress, man, that thing's a train wreck. Oh no, but that's not the worst of all. The worst of all is the one where Uderzo comes up with a Mr. Gazoo type character, and has as aliens show up on the Gaul village on 50 BC. You remember how Mr. Gazoo ruined the Flintstones, and yeah,
the Great Gazoo.
Yeah, that thing. It was so left field, it made absolutely no sense. I know that in Asterix in particular, on that story, Uderzo wanted to make fun of both American superheroes and the manga invasion. Right now, 50% of the French market is manga, which is something that 50 years ago would have been unthinkable. But still, it just reads like a sad old man complaining that the kids are all on his lawn and they're roasting s'mores. That's right. Thumbs up the video if you like. And in case you're used to watching this on Jared's channel, just since we may have to go back and forth in the future, it's probably a good idea if you also sub to me. I will appreciate it.
Yep.
Asterix and the Great Divide was Black Gold was not. I couldn't. Yeah, actress was not. Yeah, after that, it was really bad. Some people who like these traditional European characters, which is kind of fun because they sell millions of copies in Europe, and since they're not esoteric enough for the American readers who would be interested in European comics, they don't pay attention. So it's Asterix, but it's also Spirou. I remember a few years ago, a few readers were complaining that the Portuguese publisher was skipping albums, and they skipped one that had been notorious for being lower quality than usual. So the Portuguese publisher relented and published that album. And what did the readers do? They complained that the album wasn't good. Well, they told you it wasn't good. That's why they didn't want to publish it. I think Jared's frozen. Are you frozen? Jared's frozen. Thank you, Missing Mars. This Friday really does feel European. Well, I haven't even thought about hot dogs or baseball in 45 minutes. Okay, Jared's trying to get back. Yeah, let's get through it.
Everything disappeared. I think you have to take my old blank one off. There we go.
Yeah, but
All of a
you're
sudden,
still trying.
all of a sudden, everything started spinning for me, and
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna start. Okay, we can talk. We can talk about hot dogs or baseball.
nah.
Who's playing today? But who's playing this weekend? In American Hand Egg.
I have no idea. All I know is there were some games in Tokyo this week to start off the season.
Yeah, so the Shelley Belge had a lot of good cinemas. The Le Grand Fossé. Yeah, it's still good, but it's missing the jokes that only Goscinny, Le Grand Fossé, which which is the Great Divide. It's a village that has a. They couldn't decide on who was going to lead the village, so half of the village followed one leader, half followed the other. They dug a moat between the village, and that's why it's the Great Divide. It's still fun, but the jokes don't read the same. And after that, there's a run of ideas. It's the Paulo Show. Yes. We will be talking a lot.
I can tell you a little story about comic book history that I found, but I can't show it to you yet.
Oh.
Besides the fact that I won't open it, I haven't opened it yet. There's nothing quite to show you. Do you remember these production negatives I bought from Bunny?
Yes.
I've showed these before. And for those who don't know, these are production negatives. These are what they make the printing plates from. And this is what plate is this? This is the red plate. So there are 4 plates, black, red, blue, and yellow. And I bought these off of eBay. You can take me off of Dolo now. I bought those off of eBay. I've showed these before, and I can scan them in and make prints out of them. Though I need a transparency scanner, so I use this scanner at my school to do this, which is so. Once again, I was on eBay. Because I bought those last year. I was like, let me see if they got any new ones. Let's see if I can find. And they're usually like the cheap. If you put in comic book production art into eBay, you can find a lot of stuff, and most of it is like the Black Line or something. This is usually among the cheap. I think this cost me $50 for the negatives. It's usually among the cheaper production art because no one knows they don't look that good just by themselves. And no one knows what to do with them if you don't know anything about comic production. I do. So the only one up there for a couple of weeks was an old Bugs Bunny issue. And I was like, it wasn't a particularly good cover. I didn't particularly want to make a print out of it. So then right after our show, it was last week, I was sitting there, I was going, let me look and see what other production art is there. Sure. And someone put up, I think, 20 Harvey covers from the 70s. And I was like, oh, and there was some, what's it, Hot Stuff?
Yeah.
Who's the little devil? I was like, oh, maybe I'll get myself some Hot Stuff negatives. And make a print out of an old Hot Stuff cover that I like. It sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So being me, I have to do my due diligence. So what I was doing is they only had pictures of the negatives. This one, they didn't have like the comic itself. So you can only see the 4 negatives. So any little dot, there wasn't little dot, but hold on. So of course, first I found the Hot Stuff. I went over to the Grand Comic Book Database to see what the cover looked like, and I downloaded the cover just so I could have it and decide which one to get. Then of course I was like, well, I may as well download the other covers too for the other books and see what they look like, just in case I like them. So the one I found that I went to download was not Little Dot, but Little Lotta. You know who Little Lotta is?
Yeah.
I think she came from Little Dot. Well, go to the Grand Comic Book Database and look up Little Lotta 121.
Little Lotta 121.
Little Lotta, just look up Little Lotta and try to find the cover to 121. This is what I did.
Little Lotta 121. I can find Little Dot 121.
Little Lotta.
Little Lotta.
Just put in Little Lotta so you can see all of the.
There's no Little Lotta 121.
Right. There's no Little Lotta 121. I was like, what? And I downloaded the picture of the negative, and I inverted it, and sure enough, in the corner of I could see part of the cover. It was Little Lotta 121 up in the corner. So now go to
the notes on the Grand Comics database to say issue 121 was advertised but not published.
Yep. I've got the.
So that's the promo art.
No, this is the actual cover, color separations.
Okay.
That it's not promo art because they must have. I mean, they must have used these for the promo. But this is the actual cover,
right?
The negatives for 121, which there's no picture of. So on Monday, I'm going to scan these in at school and the transparency scanner. And next week, we can show you what Little Lotta cover 121 that doesn't seem to be anywhere looks like.
Cool.
So I was going to
first.
I was going to get what's his name, the Little Devil cover, and I was like, no, I have to get this one. That's even cooler, an unpublished cover. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, the cost about $50, shipped and taxed. So I was like, wow, I have to get that one. Forget Hot Stuff. I'll have to get Hot Stuff another time. I want to get a cover that has never been published. So that's a tease for next week when we'll get to see what Little Lotta 121 looked like.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I was like, how did this show up on some random comic book shops, eBay? And like I said, they've got a whole bunch of other Harvey Comics negatives too. So I might get one of them another time.
No, after you show it on the he'll like it. I'll probably email him and tell him that we're going to show that cover. So see if he's got time to really show up and watch. Yeah, and after you have that, you could probably post the final art on either comic on Facebook on Comic Book Historians or People's History of Comics.
There we go. That's a good idea. What is this class? I teach digital media, digital illustration 2, and pre-press and print. Those are right this semester. I'm teaching pre-press and print and digital media. But despite the fact that I have 3 scanners, I do not have a scanner that can scan in an 8x10 transparency, which my school does. So I'll have I'll bring it into school on Monday and scan it there, because the difference. Let me just show you the difference.
Yeah, a lot of Harvey collectors would love to score this. Yeah, how much would something like this cost? In on average,
$50 shipped and taxed. That's what they all. It's $35 plus like $10 shipping plus $5 tax. That's what all of these. But like I said, unless you know what to do with them,
like
I said,
right. Because since the collectors like to show off the stuff, if you only have the printing plates, it's kind of meaningless.
Right. This is the light one. The light one is the one I scanned. I scanned this on my flatbed scanner. It's okay, but it's off. This is scanned on a transparency scanner. And and you can see the difference. The colors are much brighter, especially those pinks. And it's just it's night and day because you really need a transparency scanner to like I did an adequate job on a flat grid scanner, but not good enough. So
they could
that's why
probably
I
do
can't show
something
it to you
different.
now.
You probably could do something different with the sky because it's the same color as Bunny's arms.
Right. They're supposed to be two different colors there, but they're the same here. And I love how Harvey was so cheap during this period. They didn't even put white in the balloons.
Yeah.
And this isn't the only one that's like that. Look at the difference when I put this. I put white in the balloons.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more like a comic book cover.
Sure.
But I noticed on some of those hot stuff ones I was looking at also didn't have white on the balloons.
Okay, but wouldn't the balloons just be white because they're pasted onto the artwork?
Yes, but what happened was whoever was doing the color separations didn't want to bother to paint around the balloons. So they just went right through.
Man, it I don't know. It looks like more work painting over the balloons.
Now you'd have to, because the way separations were done, you would have to paint around the balloons and paint the whole background. It's easier just to go right over them and not care, obviously.
All right. Well, we have something. We will have something interesting to talk about next.
Yeah, we'll have a little comics history next week.
I
can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
but I was just like, and it was funny because like I said, I found that right after our show last Friday night. And I bought it right away. I was like, oh, I have to get this. This is comics history. No one else will know what to do with this. And then I don't think it got mailed out till like Monday morning. I'm like, a comic shop that's closed on the weekend? Come on. Because I kept going, I kept thinking maybe he won't send it. Maybe he'll find out and think it's worth more money. And but who knows? There's no Little Lotta one. I mean, I certainly didn't know that there was no Little Lotta number 121, but the negatives exist. I should open it and double check that it's in, because like I said, I just got home to this. So let me open it on air to make sure.
I wouldn't say the colorist is lazy, but
it's the separator, not the colorist.
Yeah, but our RVs aren't around because of changes in distribution in the 1970s, and the Harvey guys were not as intelligent dealing with the new system.
And this is 1970s Harvey, so not exactly when in their glory days.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Got that box. Oh, lots of eBay tape on this thing. Lots and lots of eBay tape. I prefer they pack with that blue tape because you can take that off. This packing tape. I'm throwing that on the ground. Packed well. With Scotch tape this time. But I still want some of those hot stuff covers, so. There we go. Everything is taped down. All right, we can see the negative to Little Lotta, that 121. It definitely says up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's her opening a fridge and all the food falling out onto her. I only see the black plate. Where are the color plates? Ah, they're in the... There's another... Maybe this was packed up to sell, because it's good that we can see the black plate. Man, the amount of tape.
Making sure that you don't lose anything.
Yeah. Oh, now this is my... Now the bag is taped too. Let's make sure we've got a manila envelope. Yep, there's our color plates. Like I said, unless you really know what to do with these, they don't look exactly spectacular. So there's Little Lotta 121, the cover that does not exist until next week. It'll exist.
Werewolf says no one has had more publishers than the Phantom. In the American comics, probably not. Maybe Gru, and even then, no. If you count all the modern stuff, the Phantom definitely has more. Ranger Slash says, did you check if there were more Harvey covers that were unpublished? Could be others.
This was the only one that was up there that was unpublished that I saw. Because I found all, though I didn't look up the Sad Sack ones, I don't think. So if there was, like I said, all the other ones, I looked for the covers. Let me see if I can tell you what else they have there.
Werewolf says, if she ate so much, you'd think the fridge would be empty.
Let's see. Oh, there is some little dot there. Hot Stuff, 134, 138, 141, 142, 139. Little Dot, 163 and 164. Little Lotta, 120, the last issue of Little Lotta, before this one. Sad Sack Laugh Special, 88. Spooky, 154. Spooky, 155. Spooky Town, 62, 63, and 66. And Wendy the Good Little Witch, 92 and 93. Those are the ones they have the negatives for. I remember those spooky ones looked pretty good too. So did the Hot Stuff ones I liked. But yeah, there's two little dots.
King Features did try to publish their own comics for a time. Charlton published the Phantom. Harvey published the Phantom. Then in the 80s and 90s, you have Phantom from Marvel and DC. And in more recent years, you've had the Phantom from Moonstone Books, and from what? From not from IDW. No.
There's some weird blue staining on this. I wonder what that's from.
Jackson Roykirk is here. Sad Sack gets mentioned when I come in.
If you want some Sad Sack production negatives,
yeah, you got to buy some.
And I wonder if there was a price variation on these later Little Lottas, because if you look down here, see how outside it says 25-30 cents? That usually meant they would, like I said, it says 25 cents up here underneath the, there we go. It says 25 cents up there. But that would mean production wise, they could just cut that 35 cents out and slip it in. So there must have been two prices on these, a 25 cent and a 30 cent variant. Oh, maybe those are the Canadian ones, because I think I noted there were some Canadian variants of the later issues.
Yeah, and the not IDW, but I think Boom Studios had some Phantom as well. How about Dick Tracy or Flash Gordon? Flash Gordon moved around a little. Tarzan, yeah. So you have Tarzan from Quality, That's the first. The one. The no. You had Tarzan from Gold from Dell. Then you had Tarzan at not Qual. No, it moved to DC. The Marvel published them for a while. You had Malibu. Then you had Dark Horse. Then you had modern versions. Not entirely sure.
By the way, when describing this little Lotta cover to someone at the comic shop, I described it as a Jeff Darrow fridge. Because there's all sorts of stuff coming out of it.
I wonder if Jeff Darrow would have liked to draw the classic kids characters. Richie Rich by Jeff Darrow.
No, Little Lotta by Jeff Darrow.
Casper, the Friendly Ghost by Jeff Darrow.
Huh. But it was just amazing to me when that popped up. I was like, wow, how could this be out there? And no one ever knew. I wonder where that particular comic shop got all those Harvey negatives from. They must have come from one source. Like I said, there's 20 of them there.
Dynamite has that Tarzan. You're right. It's Dynamite, the name I was forgetting. I was always going back to Boom Studios.
Dark Horse did some.
Yeah, I have a few collections from Dark Horse with Tarzan, and Dark Horse also reprinted some stories from the Malibu series. Good one called Lord of the Jungle. And I have two books from a French series that's adapting the original novels. But they haven't been published in English yet.
Speaking of reprints,
I think I have one around here because I've shown it once.
Fantastic Four #3 facsimile edition came out this week.
Yeah.
So I picked that up. For those of you who don't know, they're putting out all the first 12 issues of the Fantastic Four in facsimile editions. Then I'm sure they're going to put it out in a collected edition because they're doing that for Spider-Man, I think. But once again, I don't think I'd want facsimile editions in a collected edition.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather have the regular collected edition of it without the ads.
Yeah.
The whole point of the ads is to make it a facsimile. I don't know. That I don't get that. Green turned me on to Lord of the Jungle from Dynamite.
Yeah. Speaking of Lord, so this is the French one of the books from the French Tarzan series. It's Tarzan at Earth's Core. And Christophe Beck is doing the writing of the adaptations. And for this one, they got Raffaele della Torre, Stefano Raffaele, and Dave Stewart on coloring to do the art. So it looks very American for something that was published in France. Actually, let me because I love showing off this page because it's Tarzan dressed in regular clothes. So yeah. Because Rob Della Torre has the style that kind of looks like John Buscema. Here's some more. Yeah. But these could be. This is the type of thing that Ablaze should consider publishing. I don't know how they handle the rights. They can do Tarzan in France because you can't squat on the trademark to prevent other people from reprinting things that or for creating adaptations of things that are in the public domain. So they can use Tarzan. But in the US, Tarzan is still a trademark.
How's the story in that French Tarzan, Paolo? Says
it works. The first one, which that's the first Tarzan novel, they did some things to Jane to make her more palatable to modern viewers. But this one is at your score with an artist who does John Buscema. It reads very well. So I think I'll see if I can find a few more of these. And not crazy about the artwork. Well, if you remember Rob Della Torre did a few Conan stories, and that's how you kind of notice that it's very John Buscema like, and it was Buscema who did the art on Marvel's Tarzan in the 1970s. So I think it does work. If you're also, since Tarzan's an American character, it kind of makes sense that you do this to look like a traditional adventure strip. So I'd say that having a John Buscema clone is the best thing that you could have done to Tarzan.
Speaking of Conan, I got to do a little bit of an interesting thing this week. Read in that usually I read novels when I'm on the train commuting in. And I had just finished a couple of magazines and a novel, so I was looking for something to read. Once again, I usually read in my iPad too, the Kindle, my Kindle app. And I was like, it must have been 2 years ago I started. I get this one really thick, it's digital, so I don't know why I'm doing this. This one really thick, complete works of Conan, what's his name, the Conan author? His name just flew out of my head. All his Conan
Robert
stories.
E. Howard.
There we go. Robert E. Howard. All his stories in one book, but I haven't picked it up in a while. And I said, let me pick it up this train ride and read the next story, which was The Jewels of Guantelur. I can't even see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed it. And I knew I still had this on my shelf because this came out in, how long ago was this? 2005. Wow, this is 20 years old. Holy cow. Craig Russell. And I had remembered, I'm a huge Craig Russell fan. I love all his stuff. I love his adaptations. This was sort of one of the lesser lights to me. The art is terrific, of course, but the story didn't really hit home with me in this one, but I haven't read it in 20 years. But since I read the prose version of it, I went, you know what? I'm going to go pull that out and see how it compares. And I got to say, my initial feelings about it, thoughts and feelings, were right. And having read the story, and this is, like I said, I'm a huge Craig Russell fan. Like, the artwork is terrific. But overall, this adaptation was a little clunky. And I think it was a little clunky because after reading the text version, the original, so much of this story is Conan's thoughts. So much of the story, though there's a lot going on, so much of it is in Conan's head. And I think that makes for a tough comic book adaptation. I think it's pretty good. They tried their best. I love the artwork in it, but I think it just fell a little short for me. And reading it a second time fell a little short for me too. But I really liked the original prose story. I think the original prose story is much better than this adaptation. And that's the first time I've ever done that with Conan. So it was pretty interesting little experience.
Yeah. Jack says Benito Gallego is also good Buscema. He is.
Who's the one who's drawing Conan for Titan Books, who looks just like Buscema?
It's Del Torre. It's
Okay.
this guy who did the Tarzan book. Benito Gallego has a little bit of Wally Wood in there as well. The first time I got to read a Tarzan comic was a French edition of the Bern Hogarth Sundays. Yeah, we had some stuff with the Bern Hogarth Sundays in a.
First time I read Tarzan comics was Marvel's John Buscema. They were okay. I think I read those even before the DC ones. I didn't.
If no one said it, Fantagraphics has a sale starting today through Sunday for each $50 you spend. They give you $50 in Fantagraphics money to use later. That does not expire. They do sell once a year. All right, so sounds like a steal then.
Yeah,
that's a good. I picked it up for Craig Russell too. Yeah. If you,
I love Craig Russell. I'll pick up anything Craig Russell does, even the lesser Craig Russell stuff. I still like.
Thank goodness Paul left a link. Yeah, I left a link in the comments on your haul video.
Yeah. So I left a link in the box underneath too. So, but
that points to my channel. Yeah, that points to my channel.
Yeah.
The thing is, sometimes I think P. Craig Russell shouldn't ink himself.
Oh no, I love him inking himself. I have no problem with that.
Because when he inks other artists, it looks very, very good. But when he inks himself, it's not the same style.
No, well, he's doing something different with himself. But I love his some of the stuff he did too with Elric Stormbringer, the later Dark Horse one, not the early graphic novel, when he was using blue pencil for stuff, and he just had so many different techniques in there. That was really nice, I remember. Because he was using different finishing techniques. But like I said, it was interesting reading the prose version for the first time and then going back and reading the comic book adaptation.
Yeah, I have a few of those Del Rey books that reprint the original prose stories.
Yeah.
Not just for Conan, but for King Cole and for Solomon Kane, Bran McMorn, and one that's less well known to a comic book fan, which is El Borak, an American adventurer in the mountains of Afghanistan in the early 20th century.
I ordered the first issue of Solomon Kane from Titan. Who's the artist on that? Kirscher? I follow him on Blue Sky, so he saw he was doing it. He's a good artist. I've seen him before. I forget what else he's drawn, but that's coming out in a week or two, I think.
The thing about Solomon Kane, I made this comparison. The old inner monologue.
Yeah, I think that's what made this a tough comic. Like I said, so much of that Conan story was his inner monologue.
Right, when you're doing it visually, the monologue's not so important.
Yeah.
All right, so Jackson has to get going. So thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah, I'll be seeing you later whenever I catch you in another live stream. All right.
And you know what's weird about reading a comic book after reading the story? There's certain things you visualize in your head, and then they're different on the comic book page. And sometimes they're like small things.
Yeah, and you go back to the prose story, and now you're visualizing in the comic book style.
It was like part of the story is there's supposed to be this woman who's been alive forever. And in the prose story, I could swear they said, or at least I visualized it, she was lying down on this big slab of concrete. But in the Conan story, she's sitting up. And for some reason, to me, that was like, huh? What? Why is she sitting up? She's supposed to be lying down. Like that small a thing. It wasn't even, it's completely inconsequential. to the story. But for some reason, that stuck with me when I was reading. I was like, "What? Why is she sitting up? I thought she was supposed to be lying down." And it was like, it's amazing the things your brain can latch on to.
One thing that I didn't like in the Dark Horse series that Conan is wearing pants. Nobody should wear pants. The thing about pants is that they were invented separately by several people on different times.
Yeah.
But they were not common until the Middle Ages. So I'm not sure I like to see barbarian characters wearing pants. Okay, Salman Kane, my favorite Robert T. Howard character. Yeah, here's the thing. When I read the prose stories, there were fewer Bran McMorn stories. There's a lot of fragments in there because Howard didn't finish a lot of Bran McMorn stories. But even with fewer appearances, Bran McMorn feels more solid than Solomon Kane to me, because Solomon Kane, it gets repetitive after a while because the character goes through the motions in a similar manner on different stories. Travels around, runs into someone, that person dies, demons show up, Solomon Kane kills demons.
Demons show up.
And it's always in that order. So if you read 6 Solomon Kane stories all on top of each other, haven't I read this before? The barbarian in Pence corner of the market is covered by slain. Yeah, yeah. But the thing, I've never read a Slain comic story. I have a Slain novel that I bought once that never got around to reading. Slain is a character from 2000 AD. Is a barbarian.
Yeah, I haven't read much of him either. Well, maybe 1 or 2 comics. Mm-hmm. Let me show you a really good first issue I got this week, which I almost didn't buy because I didn't pre-order it. Because when I make my pre-orders, like I said, usually on the weekend, I get an email from my comic shop, final order cutoff. Anything I want to add to my pull list, I just click on the link and add it. But, we all have budgets. So I'm trying to decide what to. It was between, there was a first issue of Mouse Guard that was coming out. I don't know if you've ever seen Mouse Guard.
Yeah.
I've only read a little of it. And I was like, you know what? I want to get this new series of Mouse Guard maybe. And I think Mouse Guard was also $1 cheaper than this one. But when I got to the comic shop this week, my LCS owner, Roy, was like, no Mouse Guard this week. Diamond didn't send it.
Jesus
All right.
Christ.
So then I looked over and saw this one on the shelf. And I was like, you know what? I picked it up again and said, oh, that's the one I passed over. Out of Alcatraz by Christopher Cantwell and Tyler Crook. I know the name Tyler Crook, but I don't really know his art. But this was terrific. It's the story of Escape from Alcatraz, but it's they assume that the guys who escaped out of Alcatraz made it, and this is what happened to them after they made it. And it's really good. You can take me off solo now. It's really well written. It's really well drawn, and I'm so glad I got it. I'm so glad Mouse Guard was late and I was able to get this one, because it was. I gotta say, it was very, very enjoyable.
That cover almost looks like a Hitchcock movie poster.
Yes, definitely got that 50s, 60s movie design going there. But really good. I think I ordered, here's the back ad for Plague House. I think I pre-ordered that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I like that art on the back now. I hope I pre-ordered it.
Well, it looks like
wow. Really good, because I guess you'd call it crime comics, but things just happen that are unexpected and are it was really good. If you want a good crime, it was better than my expectations for it. So I really enjoyed it. It's gonna go on my pull list now.
Yeah,
Cerebus definitely had no pants. Sometimes he didn't have a waistcoat.
Yeah. Well, but Cerebus is a funny animal. He doesn't need to wear pants.
Nope. He didn't get
Sequential
sued
Geek
into
asks,
wearing pants.
do you all like that size for a comic book? I do not prefer it personally, too small, but I know magazine size will never catch on.
I always like bigger because I'm old. But I'm okay with regular comic book size. But you're right. I'm old. I like bigger sizes. I like, I like magazine size too.
Yeah, you have to do. Can you write the letters a little bigger? Because I have to put on my spectacles.
Even with my reading glasses, it's like, but I do prefer saddle stitched, i.e., staples, to square bound, because the comic just opens flatter. I like that. I think it makes for a better reading experience. But
if it's magazine size,
it opens a little
square
better
bound
than
is
comic.
better.
Yeah. Now,
especially if
I like
it's
magazine
over 40
saddle stitch too.
If it gets to 60 pages, it definitely needs to be square bound.
What happens with the saddle stitch too is I first noticed this with Spider-Man 600, maybe it was, which was one of those really giant comics, $10, 64 pages or something, and it was saddle stitched. And I don't know how CGC grades it, but all up in the top and bottom corners was burst. There was like a little burst. The paper burst because as you fold all those papers, the corners can't handle it and burst a little. So that's what I noticed happened to Spider-Man 600. Now it was like production error. I wonder how they grade that.
You can enjoy the artwork with even just a slightly larger size.
Yeah.
I'd like something stupid that a Portuguese publisher just did. They released a collected edition of Enki Bilal's Nicopol trilogy, which was the one where they have Egyptian gods who came from space and they're having sex. And they did a European comic in a comic format that is smaller than a US comic.
They're going manga.
Really,
it's 6x9.
Yeah, no, it's not 6. No, it's not 6x9. It's slightly small because the same publisher decided that it was a good idea to do a Portuguese edition of the Three Jokers. So they both came out the same week. Three Jokers, Nicopol trilogy. And the Nicopol trilogy is slightly smaller than the Three Jokers. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. That's annoying.
George Lucas said the worst note he got from a producer for Star Wars, can the Wookiee wear shorts? No notes. That's right. I do enjoy the larger size, like the early 1980s Warrior UK monthly.
I think it also depends on how old you are. Because when I was a kid, smaller size didn't bother me at all because I had young eyes.
Well, yeah. We had the digest in the Brazilian edition. So
I loved those digests.
Bigfoot was the Eugene popular culture at that time. Yeah, right. Bigfoot does not wear pants.
Oh, and this one I pulled out before. This is the final issue of The Deviant. This was the one that's a Christmas noir story. This is issue 9 and it's double sized. I was wondering how long this was going to go, and they wrapped it up terrifically. They did an excellent job. This is James Tinian IV is writing it, and Joshua Hickson is drawing it, and Hassan Atsmain El How is doing the lettering. And it's a story. It's a serial killer story, and a guy getting framed by a serial killer, and an old guy who may have been framed by a serial killer. And I got to say, they wrapped it up nicely. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it'll be collected soon. Get yourself the collected edition of Deviant if you like a nice Christmas crime noir story.
Cool.
Good stuff. And this one was, even though it was extra size, it was still $4, the regular price. So sometimes you get a bargain with the individual issues.
The worst writer of notes for Star Wars was Lucas. Can we have Greedo shoot first? Leave it, George. Exactly. I agree. Han shot first. And Jar Jar was a Sith Lord. That's not a joke. That was the plan all along. The thing is, Jar Jar registered so bad with the audiences that they just wrote him out. Most people don't know about Deviant on YouTube because there are no variant covers for it. You're right.
It's an excellent series, though.
But do you think it was meant to be 10 issues, and they just wrapped it up? Just wrapped it up with the double size number 9?
They may have decided to do 9 and 10 as one issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because often these things go 10 issues, but I was expecting it to be around 6. Mm-hmm. So they really, they put more story in it than I thought they were gonna. Because the first issue came out, I think, not this Christmas time, but the Christmas time before it, maybe.
Mm.
So I figured, since it's a Christmas noir story, they start it in December and it runs till March. But they put out 9 issues and it took them a while. So, but like I said, it ran longer than I thought it would, and that's a good thing. I think they did a nice job with it overall.
Well, that's good. If you think something's supposed to be 6 issues and they continue, there's a tendency to try to milk it. Although I'm not sure that's true nowadays. You really don't know if you can do another issue.
There have been a few things. There have been a few, especially from Boom, I think, that were hits, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get Once in Future." That was one.
Mm-hmm.
That was the King Arthur one. That I think was originally supposed to be 6 issues, but it was such a big hit that they made it continuing.
Yeah, I think I still need to buy the final trade paperback.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a fun read. It was
that was a good one.
It was way better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
It's not very brainy. It's not it's Denmora before he got famous, so it's not the best one. But it's still it's still attractive and full of action, which is good.
Yeah,
I suppose the jokes go a little too far, considering there's a lot of death and destruction. But it's fun.
I think that one I described original, or someone described it, and I picked it up as Grandma Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
I don't think that was my original thought. I think I picked that up from someone.
I did like since I decided to buy the trades to that at the same time as I was buying the Department of Truth. And there's a certain common element in there, because when you have the 2 King Arthurs, the Celtic one and the French one from Chaucer, it's kind of the real. It hinders on the perception of reality of how Arthur is supposed to be. So that's why you get 2 Arthurs. So it kind of ties in nicely in my head with reading the Department of Truth at the same time.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, that does make sense.
Huh. Oh, actually, when you said that a superhero is a character with an impossible set of skills, I ran that idea through Grok. And Grok said it was a great way to describe a superhero.
Yeah, someone with an impossible set of skills is a superhero.
Yeah.
That's another one. I don't think that's my original thought. I think I read that somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, like Batman has superpowers because he's got an impossible set of skills.
Right, because Batman doesn't have traditional superpowers. He has the costume, but he doesn't have the impossible set of skills. But then there are superpowered characters who don't wear costumes. Even if you think that they're wearing some sort of suit and tie, it's still designed like a costume. But they all do have the impossible set of skills. The only thing that Grok complained about is that it may not work for outliers, and the AI proposed James Bond. The thing is, James Bond does not have an impossible set of skills. He may be in implausible situations for a professional spy, because you're not supposed to be in constant action all the time. Spies are actually try to be very inconspicuous for years. But everything that James Bond does, it's believable that a spy does it. It's not impossible. It's mostly training on how to use weapons, quick evasion, seduction, and trying to convince people to do what you want, even if it's against their interests. And that works for a spy. I don't think that's an impossible set of skills that James Bond has.
The only impossible skill he might have is the same skill lots of action heroes have in the movies, is the ability to run ahead of bullets.
That's plot armor.
The villains are always shooting behind them.
Okay, I read somewhere Lucas came up with the Wookiees because he owned Airedales. Airedales? What are Airedales?
Those dogs.
Huh.
Those big fluffy dogs. I think they are. So, I just bought my first comic book of the year, Tommy. You want me in March? Boy, you're on Paolo's schedule.
Yeah. Once in Future is a fun ride through literature. Yeah.
That's a good description of it, too. Yeah.
Cerebus Book 7. Flight. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
Cool. Yeah, I've got mine up there. I haven't read them in a while. Oh, there they are, I think. I think that's Cerebus up there.
For you Cerebus readers, what's the best period?
I don't know. I kind of like them all. The end, of course, is the most difficult to read. That's where he went batty. A lot of people like Church and State. I think Howler Mouse is a big Jacques story fan. Anything where there's not big blocks of text.
Right.
Which you can skip if you want. Like there was one whole volume where he was playing handball. That was weird. Okay.
A Man Called Intrepid. I don't think I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't know that. I know the name, but I don't know it. At least I've heard the name. About cats that created the CIA's and Sid Fleming's work.
Okay. Is that a semi-fictional biography of Ian Fleming?
Ooh, excellent question. It's one of the few title that changes with each book. So yeah, Cerebus.
Right, because we know that Dave Sim went off the rails in the final years, but the first volume, Sim is still being a bit experimental, so it may not be as solid because there's no plot that goes from the beginning to the end. But once he gets into the habit of exploring a certain theme through a set number of issues, the first volume, by not having it, may not feel it may still feel incomplete, and that is still working on the character.
I'm trying to remember what that what that website I mentioned like a few weeks ago about the guy who was reading all the Cerebus. There we go. It's let me see if I can put this.
So Tammy says he likes book 1. Well, one thing that I noticed when I'm reading the first appearances of a character, they drop some germs of an idea, and then they don't develop them. But so there's still, you see the potential of what the character may become, and you notice where the character did not go.
Let me see if I can post a link.
Man Called Intrepid is about stealing that Nazi decoder, among other things.
This comment has failed to post to PAL. Okay, I can't post a link.
No,
but there's a blog that just reviewed all the Cerebus stuff. I mentioned it a few weeks ago. That was the guy who was like, he was saying, you know what? In the future, no one's going to read Cerebus but scholars.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tammy Wimey likes the Sword of Cerebus series because it's the early reprints, and they got the extra stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I have the. I always liked the Lively Cerebus letters page too. That was always good. Which
you froze for a bit.
What was that?
You froze for a bit when you were talking.
Oh, I did. Am I moving again?
Yeah.
I must be freezing a little tonight. Let's see another comic I got. We've got the Power Fantasy issue number 7.
Okay.
This is the one that's about superheroes trying not to fight each other so they don't destroy the world. And this one started flashback to our story called The Second Summer of Love.
Yeah, you have you're at low resolution and you're freezing occasionally again. And you froze again. Man, your internet is terrible today.
Take me off solo. Let me see if I can go out and come back in a few minutes. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, so let's wait for Ryzon to work properly again. See if it works this time. Come back, Jared. Come back to us. I guess his internet connection is not as good as I was hoping. Oh, Jared. He doesn't have to go back to... Still waiting. All right. So what else can we talk about? What else do we have around here? Here it is. Oh man, I should. Whoops. This should not be. It's destroying the comic. All right. So while we're waiting for Jared to come back, here's something that Scott Dunbier thought was a good idea. And it was a good idea. So The Adventures of Dieter Lumpen by Horizonte. Jared is back. Here we are.
Hello there. Hey, how come I lost my speaker? There we go. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Now we were hearing you all the time. I'm not sure. And your
Now I'm freezing.
you're freezing again, but the image resolution is good.
Oh, there. What is
Yeah,
going on?
you look like you're on the Ice Pirates.
I think my computer's still opening things.
If you had a Windows PC, it would probably be doing unscheduled updates. But you have a Mac, so you never update anything.
Update? What's that? But the Power Fantasy was good. Another good issue.
Mm-hmm.
They were flashing that Europe is destroyed in this comic due to fighting with some extra dimensional being, and they were and it was destroyed like 10 years ago. I think this takes place in 1999, and it was destroyed in 1989, the second Summer of Love, where this super-powered being showed up and just wanted everybody to love, and then something went wrong.
Wait, an extra dimensional demon invades Earth, and he does it through Europe instead of New York. Everybody knows that you have to. Every time you invade the planet Earth, you go to New York. Everybody knows that.
Matter of fact, it was. Let's see, what town was it in? It started in Manchester, 1989.
Well, it's a good idea to. It's a good idea to destroy Manchester first.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been an excellent series. I notice my video keeps lagging.
Okay, Timey Wimey Limey says he's now officially been working on his own book for 20 years.
All right, an anniversary.
Mm-hmm. You need an editor to tell you, is that thing done yet? Cerebus enchants me every time I return to it. It's easily rereadable for me, like a great novel.
Oh, okay.
Well, Gore, you are smarter than the average bear, so you will continue to read Cerebus. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Sequential Geek, practicing your Croat. Yeah, you're. Oh, nice. Yeah. No articles and possessive pronouns. That's a characteristic of Slavic languages. Yeah, here's the thing. Whenever people, what's the easiest foreign language to learn? It's probably a Slavic language.
Yeah.
The international language, it's probably better that something like Russian or Polish become the international language than English.
That's hilarious. The capital of the world must indeed be New York, but in 1989 it was Manchester.
Yes, that's when they invented Acid House. Destroy Manchester before they create Acid House. Not for me. Dutch was way easier. Are you sure? Well, here's something that German has that English doesn't have. The sounds are all the way sounds are made that are usually all the same, unlike in English. And
whatever that is.
That looks like Polish, but some of the characters require diacritics.
Uh-huh. And the new issue of Saga came out this week.
Oh no! Wait a minute. No, they're probably speaking Croat to each other.
Since I know Gore's here and loves it, the new issue of Saga came out this week.
Break out the lawyers.
It was fine. A bunch of stuff happened. This is actually the end of part 2 out of 3. So I think there's supposed to be another 30-something issues. But there was a big event happened at the end of this that'll change the rest of the story. Let's see, how many? 108 chapter epic. So that means this is 72. So that makes 28 plus it 36. Oh, yeah, I guess it's 36, 36, and 36. That's 108. So 1/3 of it to go. Good stuff.
Yeah, timey-wimey-limey. Never conflict your Z with your...
You can take me off solo, too.
Yeah, so the first Z with the diacritic looks like it's Polish, and the second one is Croat. Because they don't have they don't use the same diacritics in every Slavic language, and Sequential Geek probably can't write the proper letters because with the diacritics the letters are not the same letters. Because in Portuguese, when we put accents on the vowels, they're still considered the same letter. In Slavic languages, when they put accents on the consonants, they're a different letter. But they use different diacritics on different Slavic languages to make the same sound.
Huh. I just realized I have no idea who drew Little Lotta. Did Warren Kremer? I mean, he must have. That's his name, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing.
At the beginning, but I don't know if he was doing it then.
If you expect Warren Kremer to draw every Harvey comic every month,
that's why I have. He's the only one I can name.
Yeah, I don't know. Then the Carl was not around. Edwin Yarsky, maybe? I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
I have no idea who drew that cover.
And I don't know if somebody bothered studying the art on issues of Little Lotta.
Yeah.
Because since I try to have a sort of database of Marvel, the Marvel comics that people haven't identified any artists to, the funny animals that were edited by Vince Fago. If they're not signed,
no one has any idea.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so I picked a random issue of Little Lotta, number 42 from July 1962. No credits. Let's go for issue number 56 in 1964. No credits.
Try issue 120. The one right
83. Okay, number 83 in 1969. You'd think that with Marvel and DC doing credits for quite a while, but no credits. So let's go to the beginning. So let's go to issue number 1, 1955. No credits. Number 2. No credit. Yeah.
Wow.
These people have no idea and they don't care. Nobody cares about Little Lotta.
Wow.
Yeah. Now we have a lively discussion in a random Slavic language.
I was born there, but left very young.
Nice. Okay, so there's some differences between West Slavic and South Slavic, but the West Slavic languages are very close to each other, and the South Slavic languages are very close to each other. More than English is to anything, and more than Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Italian are to each other. From my comic shop on Little Lotta number 1 cover by Steve Maffati. Stories and art by Warren. Yeah, but here's the Warren Kremer cannot have done all of them, and besides,
maybe the first one.
yeah, I suppose. But and as long as they stayed on model, but there should be some records of the artists, especially. There's some tricks that even though they change characters and change models, there's some tricks that you can identify and it's Harvey. Somebody should have paid some attention to it.
Trigger warning, Darren. Saga will never end.
Yeah. Sick those lawyers.
I was the first to return as my mom was diaspora during WW2, so ended up born in Italy, then the U.S. 8 years later, says he. In Europe, you guys can endlessly talk about languages and its pronunciation. In North America, Jared and I can only talk about what ranch dressing brands differ from each other in our countries.
Yeah, and you can complain that Five Guys is not available in some states.
Yeah.
It's different. I haven't been to Croatia, but I have been to Slovenia. We stayed on the shore, very close to Trieste, because that area near the Adriatic Sea was Italian. Slovenia and Croatia were part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and after World War II, Slovenia and Croatia were part of the kingdom of Yugoslavia, where they tried to get all of those people together. But Italy still had an area near the seashore, which went further down south, in the Gulf of Trieste. And in fact, Mario Andretti was born in a city which was called. He was born in 1940 in a city called Montona d'Istria. So Istria is the name of the peninsula where that used to be part of Italy, but now it's divided between Slovenia and Croatia. And the city was called Montona d'Istria, but after World War II, it was given to Yugoslavia as reparations, and it became Motovun. And the funny thing is, there were Italians and Slavs living together everywhere in the area, which was normal at the time. And the Andretti family, they Italianized their name because they used to be Andretic.
That
was good for the mind and soul. In script writing ideas, sure. Yeah. That's
different language.
That's why Hemingway went to Spain. I do like a nice Caesar dressing. Vinaigrette is good.
They're all good, really, as well as a ranch.
Yeah, as long as you put a wine reduction.
I've actually been eating my salad in recent years undressed. I just like.
Yeah, I like that. I like tomato to taste like tomato.
Yeah.
Not like vinegar. I mean, to opatia.
Jared's yawning. No, I've been yawning all night. I'm tired. I was
yawning is my job.
Yeah. For Paolo, at the middle of the night. Me, I start yawning at 6 p.m.
But you guys are already on daylight savings time, and I'm not. So at present, we have a 4-hour difference instead of the usual 5. So I'm yawning less.
You're full of energy.
Yeah, it's only midnight. Yeah, me too. Well, it's early. It's earlier in you're in Chicago now, aren't you?
Jared, did you try any of those art supplies yet? Yes, I did, and I'll show you. I try. Here's I have it in my pocket. My main thing I've been that I sort of started doing. Let's see, 2 Sundays ago, I bought some new art supplies, as Tit Goblin has mentioned, and I had these strips of paper that I cut off of the side of my 12 by 18 watercolor paper. So I started doing tiny drawings. I've been doing more and more of these. That one says Juice. It's the most stripped down you can get a comic. One person, morning. One person, one word balloon. Oh, hold on. Look at this one. It ties right in. Ranch. See, that's what we can talk about. So I've been doing a ton of these tiny little brutal drawings. I've been giving them away. I've been giving them away to my students. I was giving them away at Mocha. I was like, you know what? I just want to make a whole bunch of I think I did 200 of them so far. Probably given 50 to 75 of them away. Pratt, Those were ones I was giving away at Mocha. Variety.
Are those pictures of your students?
Nope. Though I did draw one person at Mocha Fest. She's like, can you have one? And it had me say a Spanish word on it too. Draw. So I drew her. These are just ones I make up out of my head. But for that one person, I was like, all right, I had some paper with me. So I drew her and made it said something in Spanish. I can't remember. Something fun in Spanish. I can't remember the word. It was not a word I recognized in Spanish, so it wasn't a curse word.
Yeah.
What does that one say? Drink.
Yes, drink. Drink.
So this is one of the things I've been doing with those new art supplies is I haven't been using the big 11 by 17 pieces so much, but the little tiny 1 inch by 1.5 inch pieces that I cut off the 12 by 18 pieces, I've been using a lot. Now I'm just going to carry these around in this little bag and give them away at some time.
Cool. 62 Lefty Blue says DC has a new Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma, written by Ram V. Something interesting. Ram V is doing a good job with the New Gods series. It doesn't read like somebody's trying to ape Kirby, but it's definitely more interesting than whatever it is that Tom King was trying to do with Mr. Miracle. Fall back in. Yeah, we do. Yeah. No, it's next weekend. I think that we line up. Love vinegar, Italian dressing, my jam.
If I will, I'm gonna dress a salad.
Detroit, yeah. I think I remember that Sequential Geek had said that he had moved to a different Great Lake. I just couldn't remember which one. Hopefully, Detroit. Hopefully no more moving around. Yeah.
One of the people that had the booth across from me at Mocha were from Detroit. They're like the Comics Character Creators Club or something like that. I have to look at my photo, and they were all young in their early 20s, creating comics together, and from Detroit. Came all the way to New York City for Mocha Fest. Is Tit Goblin an artist? Yes, he is. Professionally since 2004, he says.
In the meantime, when you were breaking up, I showed the cover to this. So,
okay,
this is one of the European comics that Scott Dunbier published at IDW. See the Euro Comics line, and this is by Jorge Zentner and Ruben Pellejero, the interlude. This is a collection of short stories and a graphic novella, which were, let's say, I won't say serialized because each story is independent. It just features the same character. It appeared in a magazine called Simok. I think I've mentioned it before. Zentner was an Argentinian writer who was exiled in Spain in the early 80s. Pellejero is from Barcelona. He is part of the Selecciones Ilustradas studio. And I think they decided on publishing this because Dunbier got the rights to Corto Maltese. They published new Corto Maltese stories. They had stopped when Hugo Pratt died. And they hired Juan Diaz Canales, the writer of Black Sad, to come up with new stories. And this guy Pellejero to do the art, because it does look a little bit like he's trying to do Hugo Pratt.
Oh yeah.
So if you're familiar with the Corto Maltese series, Adventure in a Faraway Land, exotic characters, and a little bit of a clear line, it does look like a. And I kind of missed this line. I mean, Dunbier's not at IDW anymore, and these sort of petered out. But there was a lot of stuff from Spain that he got the rights to. I think he published some Alfonso Font and Altarriba, and the Spaniards usually don't show up on the American shores. I was hoping that he would have published some Manfred Sommer material, but he didn't.
Another comic I got, which was just okay. Who are the Power Pals? That's the story of these two actors who starred in this show, The Power Pals, except no one's ever seen the show. It was on, so I don't even know if it got out of pilot. It was on ever so briefly, and no one cares about the Power Pals. They're still around wanting to get acting work. So then they decide to go out and fight crime or something to get a little publicity. And that's about all that happened. Plus, was there a big ending here? I don't even remember. I think the big ending was they go out and decide to fight crime.
Jesus.
Not for me.
Yeah. You know, the way you describe that plot, it looks like that comic came out 20 years too late.
I mean, there was nothing terrible about it. It just wasn't for script by Dwayne Murray, art and cover by Ahmad Rafat, lettered by Rob Jones, variant cover by Matt Kint. Like I said, it was just okay. And usually when you pay $5 for a Dark Horse one, you get a nice cardstock cover on it. But this one doesn't even have. It's got a floppy self cover. So that disappointed me a little bit, not having a. So this one was like, I'm glad I picked up. What is that? That Alcatraz Beyond. What's that Alcatraz one? Out of Alcatraz, because this was a terrific first issue. This was just Right,
that's why I say that thing came out too late.
Yeah.
Superhero parodies at this stage are kind of not relevant, and you have to put them out at the time that people are willing to make fun of superheroes.
I don't.
Right now,
who knows? Maybe somebody likes it. Like maybe a newbie will like it. Somebody who hasn't read as many comics as you and I.
That's
like, oh, cool, a superhero parody.
Mm-hmm. You're not buying the Rockefellers, are you?
No, I can't stand the pun in the name. That's the only reason.
Because it looks good.
Yeah, you're right. It does.
And it's Peter Tomasi and Francis Manapul.
Yeah, nothing wrong. I just have this prejudice against puns and titles that are puns that I have to get over in order to read a book. And that one I just ended up not getting that one. Salad with no dressing, mind blown. This is the kind of quality content I subscribe for. Okay, timey wimey limey. We've got our fingers on the pulse of the public.
Professional since 2004. Still love Mad Superman. Well, yeah, because that's the original, and it's Kurtzman, and it's good. But
I've always wanted to go back and reread Normal Man, but I never have. I read it in the 80s when it came out, and that's it.
Yeah, Valentino put out a graphic novel collecting all the stories, right? A few years ago.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I should have picked up.
I still have my original issues somewhere, but I have not. I've never reread it. It's like I've always kind of meant to, but nope. I haven't. I've meant to reread Miller's Daredevil too, and I haven't done that since, I don't know, the early 90s, late 80s. I don't even remember the last time.
Yeah, I did that about 10 years ago, maybe a little more.
Yeah, you never know how long. Like, I could have never guessed this is 20 years old. I would have guessed 10.
Right.
20.
But it isn't. I remember when that came out, because it was when comic when comic book resources still had news about comics.
Ah.
So I remember that they made a big deal out of Conan moving to Dark Horse, and then it was on the ongoing title. It was a very good run by Kurt Busiek and Kerry Nord, and then there was the odd miniseries like that one and some by Tim Truman.
I think this one came out just as a graphic novel. It wasn't even printed as a comic book first.
Maybe, yeah, I can't remember. I would think it was. But I can't remember, so I can swear to that.
Okay, it was. This volume collects issues 1 through 3 of the Dark Horse comic book series Conan and the Jewels of Guadalajara. I think I must have never seen those issues. I remember seeing this was coming out and going, "Oh, a graphic novel?" Or maybe I waited. I don't know. It was 20 years ago. Who remembers? But you're right. It was 3 issues originally. Collected because I started out buying the individual issues of Conan from Dark Horse, but then they started putting them out in hardcover volumes pretty quickly for I think the retail price was like $24 for the hardcover volumes, which was the same as the issues. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait on Conan and get the hardcover volumes. Why not? So that's what I switched over to after a year or two.
Marvel even put out a few epic collections with the Dark Horse material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever want, I think the best of that Dark Horse material, the one I still have, is Conan #0. It actually came out like a little bit into the run, but it's volume 0. And it's about what really kind of it's about Conan's youth, I think. And he's just kind of going out into the world. I think he went out into the world and he's back now. So he's young, but he's not when he first went out. And he's back in Samaria for a while. And which people were the Romans? Is that Hyperborea or was that?
No, the Romans were. Oh man, this is too late in the day to remember the Hyperborean universe's geography.
Yeah.
Okay, so man, I remembered this.
Whoever was the Romans, the Numidians? I don't remember.
Might be the Numidians, yeah.
Whoever was the Romans, they were moving closer to Samaria, and they just started like a little border town near Samaria. And Conan, he's kind of enjoying, he's a wild barbarian, but he's been to the world and he's kind of enjoying this border town. And he even finds, a girlfriend there he likes. But then, and like slowly over the whole volume, he and the Sumerians come to the realization that they have to destroy this town and kill everyone in it. Because the Romans, being the Romans, never leave. They Romanize you. So they move into your area and take over. And they're like, if we don't want to be taken over, we got to destroy this town. We can't just defeat them. We have to burn this town to the ground and kill everyone in town. And that's and they don't really want to, and Conan doesn't want to, but he's like, we have to. Otherwise, Conan's like, I have seen what these, pseudo-Romans do everywhere they move. They conquer. They take over. They get a foothold. They get a toehold. And then more of them come. And next thing you know, you're the slaves. So that was sort of the climax of the whole story, was Conan coming to that realization and the Sumerians have to just level the town and kill everyone in it. And no, he doesn't do it, but he tries to get his girlfriend out, but he can't, kind of thing. So it was a really emotional story. And it was really like, a story you don't really see in Conan. But Born on the Battlefield, I think that's the name of it. Conan Volume 0, Born on the Battlefield. and just really cool. Tommy Lyman, I've never read any Conan ever, but for my latest shopping spree, I have Savage Swords book 5 and 6. How bad is that a place to start? I would say that's a bad place to start because I bought Savage Sword issue 5 and didn't like the story, so I skipped 6. That's just for whatever. I don't even remember what made me not like the story of 5, but it didn't do anything for me.
I think that's all very good. The thing about Savage Sword is that you can read them out of order and they still make sense.
I just didn't like 5, and which made me not get 6. 7 is out now, which I might get someday. But Savage Sword is one I can pick it up. Aquilonia, was that?
No. Aquilonia is early Middle Ages France. It's post Charles Martel Capetian dynasty. Aquilonia resembles Aquitania, which was actually the English domains in France. Yeah, well, because the King of England, when he was the Duke of Aquitaine, was a vassal of the King of France, which became a problem because you can't be a king in one place and a vassal in another. So that's why the 100-Year War was a thing.
Conan kind of looks like a Cerebus parody book to me, says Ty.
What have the Romans ever done for us? Well, let's see. Wait, is this a trick of the People's Front of Judea to get me to join them? I'm with the Judean People's Front.
That makes sense, right? I like that setting. How the Romans beat the phalanx from Alexander the Great's descendant in Sicily, I think, by just losing battle after battle and gathering more townspeople.
Oh yeah, no, I saw this guy called Metatron. He does reaction videos about historical channels, and he recently found out about what was that thing called? It's not history compacted, but it's oversimplified. Where they do it's very good oversimplified. They do an animation of historical events, and they live up to the name oversimplified. They don't sweat out it all makes sense, but they don't sweat out the details. And they did a series of videos on the wars between Rome and Carthage. So there's a lot of elephants going around and Romans losing, but then winning because the Carthaginians make mistakes. Eleanor of Aquitaine, yes. No, it took 200 years for Rome to conquer the Iberian Peninsula because we had no centralized government anywhere. It was just a bunch of warring tribes. So every time the Romans would conquer a village, then it'd move on to the next village and say, "We have conquered the village of so and so. We are your lords, the Romans." And the guys, "Oh, you conquered those pansies. Now we're real man. We won't get beaten by you Romans. You want to conquer us? Come and get it." And then they would defeat the village and move on to the next one and say, "We have conquered the 2 previous villages." "Oh, those pansies? Yeah, no. Here you gotta make a stand. We'll fight you." And then they move on. Then they get news. Okay, remember the village that we conquered 5 villages ago? They're rebelling. Why? Something to do with wine. Okay, let's go and reconquer them again. So it took forever to conquer the Iberian Peninsula. BFJ? The People's Front of Judea. The People's Front of Judea splitters. Yes.
And I actually I read this week too, Guilt Frame, which I got last week and then completely forgot I had. I was at the comic shop on Wednesday going, Guilt Frame. I forgot to read that. This is the Matt Kint and his mother, Marjorie Kraft Kint, and it's a murder mystery. And I like Matt Kint. Oh, look, a nice map of a building. I like Matt Kint best when he's drawing his own stuff. He also writes stuff for other people.
Right.
He's an excellent storyteller. And this was a fun book. It's about, where's the other story? Where's the other map? Let's see if I can find it. The map of the crime scene. Nope, but there's a good overview map. But you can take me off solo now. It's like a cozy mystery story, as they call them. It's about a great aunt and her nephew. So she's considerably older than him. And they live in the States somewhere. I don't know if it says where they live. But they got a pretty luxurious life, or at least she does, the great aunt, in this big apartment building. And in the beginning, they're talking about how this is the 5th crime they've solved. And you're like, okay. They're like, I guess we're detectives now. And they're just a great aunt and her great nephew. They're not anybody special, but I guess they've been solving mysteries together. So then the mystery they go on is the great aunt buys these French chairs, these upholstered French chairs. I forget the name for them. At some auction, and some guy who she was bidding against, his phone went out. She found it. He wasn't able to buy them. So he's been trying to buy them from her. And she's like, no, I don't want to sell them. So then she ships them to France and makes a appointment with a chair dealer to appraise them. She's like, what makes these so special? And then she eventually goes, her and her nephew go over to France, and they eventually go in to see the chair dealer, except the chair dealer is dead. He's got a knife in his back, slumped over at his table. They're the first to find him with someone else who works there. And then the cop, and we've got our French detective who's trying to solve the case. And we've got this this aunt and great nephew trying to solve the case too. So it was a fun book. I enjoyed it. If you like mystery stories, sort of genteel mystery stories, you'll like this. It's Dark Horse. How much was this? $30 for the hardcover. Like I said, I'm a big
Christie. Agatha Christie, eat your heart out.
Yeah, that type of story. Our little Hercule Poirot is our French detective who goes in there and grills all this. You get scenes of him grilling all the suspects and stuff like that. And them listening in on a vent to try to figure out what's going on. So, good stuff. Gil, if you like Matt Kint, if you like a mystery story, this one's worth having. There's another one I want to go back and reread, Mind Management.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to look into the elusive Portuguese wine battles. Well, the reason that they're elusive is because after drinking all the wine, we can't remember what they were about. I do like handy initials for groups. In my book, the bad guys are the TDA and the good guys are the AAA. Are you sure the good guys are the AAA? I've heard that roadside assistance is shoddy. Was it really that moral simple? Not according to the GPK.
The Grand Project kids.
Yeah.
I like making up things when people give me initials that they don't really mean.
The Great Pumpkin of Kansas.
Ah, there we go. See, it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Or we can do like Marvel. We'll come up with an acronym, and then we'll decide what it means.
We can always change it later. Supreme Headquarters, International Espionage, Law Enforcement Division. I only know the original. I know it changed a bunch of times over
Strategic Hazard. Strategic Hazard. International. No. Intervention Espionage Logistics Director. Who cares? Who remembers all that stuff?
AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics.
Well, that one's easy.
Though, sometimes I called them AIM Sometimes I called them AIM. I never knew which it was supposed to be when I was a kid. So I think both sound about AIM sounds cool.
Good guess. The third one is indeed being kept a mystery. Even you don't know what it is. I was just in the AAA headquarters in Dearborn. Wonderful brutalist architecture, all desolate and full of office cult mentalities. Well, it is Detroit in the auto industry. No thanks. That's right.
TDA, transdimensional doppelganger assassins.
Well, but they are no match for the Automobile Association of America.
No. They were a deal to chill with in the morning last fall.
Well, you get deer. You get deer to chill with.
Yeah, in my backyard. There was one looking through my window yesterday. I get actual deer to chill with.
One day they'll just move in. And you'll wonder what happened. And the deer never cleans up after himself.
No. And foxes. I caught a couple of foxes on my outdoor camera that I put out there.
I have told 2 people what JPK is, so it's guaranteed that there is an answer. Also, so you don't have to remember. If you forget, you can ask one of them.
And let's see. The last comic I got for the week is this. Looks like it. Null Hunter, issue number 6 of 10 in Olympos Saga. This is the one that's the 12 labors of Hercules. I can speak. Hercules. I thought it was going to go 12 issues, but I just saw it's a 10-issue miniseries. And in this issue, he fights people. I'm not sure what this labor is, but he was in the middle of this big battle, and that's what it was. He in the beginning of this, we found out someone killed his family, and he was going to kill this person who killed his family, and he found out that the person who killed his family, he thought killed his family, probably didn't, and may have been someone close to him that betrayed him.
It was you, Hercules. We all know this story. You killed your family.
Well, I think it may have been his father, so it might be Zeus killed his family. Zeus killed a lot of families, so.
Yeah, and he had sex with them too.
Yes.
Does it complete the last 3 labors really quick?
I don't know what he's doing.
Well, has he cleaned the audience tables yet?
I don't know.
You know what they do in remember 80s movies when you had cleaning to do? You just did a quick musical montage.
Yeah, that's what he did. A quick montage.
I do miss musical montages. They were fun.
Let's montage our way out of this.
And they would do things like have buckets of water fall on them, and then they laugh. But by the end of the song, everything was spick and span.
You're having a good time. You have bubbles in your hair. Having a good time, montage. Yellow rubber gloves on.
But then a gang of 13-year-olds in skateboards would run through the neighborhood, causing havoc, pushing little ladies.
Oh, and Jaime Hernandez was at Mocha Fest too, but I didn't get time to wait on his line, so I got to see him. I looked over and said, "Hey, there's Jaime Hernandez. Never seen him before in person."
Does he still have a lot of people going up to him? And what are their ages?
There was a variety of age, because Mocha Fest skews pretty young in terms of like high school and college age. Right. Because it's really there's no Marvel and DC sort of stuff there. It's all indie illustrators, artists, cartoonists, and stuff like that. Like Fantagraphics has a big booth there. Fantagraphics is like the big company that's at Mocha Fest. They're one, it's like And so he was, when I went over there, he had on like Sunday afternoon, he had a good 8 to 10 people on the line, which was more than anyone else had. And I think they did a panel with him Saturday. But like I said, I just was not. I was just like, I have. If I could sit down and chat with him, I'd do it. But to wait 20 minutes in line to get something signed, and I had nothing with me, I'd have to buy something, and just to say hello.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be back at my table talking to people.
Maybe you could have sold one, anything that one of your mini.
I would have given him one of my tiny drawings, but
yeah,
I didn't want to wait in line and give him a tiny drawing. Like I said, I was giving them away right at the Pratt table. People seem to like them.
Mm-hmm.
Plot twist: he finds out his true name is Heracles.
Because it is.
Yep. Jaime Hernandez, back in 1989, Love and Rockets was the comic you could lend to your girlfriend. Oh, yeah. I actually, I didn't start buying Love and Rockets regularly until about 86, when that was my second school. I went to a 2-year school. Then I went to SUNY Purchase to do another 2 years, to a 4-year school. And one of the people and the person who had the studio next to me, one of my friends, like females were the big Love and Rockets fans at that time. Mm-hmm. So he had a lot of female fans then. And she loved it because she was a punk, she was a 20-year-old punk rocker too. So that Love and Rockets was about her. Then, it stopped being about 20-year-old punk rockers. So I don't know if she kept with it. But that's when she finally got me. I was like, you know what? I may as well just start buying this regularly. Because I had bought like Mechanics, which was a reprint stuff of the early stuff. And I bought some stuff here and there, but it was one of those books I always meant to check out. But since it was already underway and there weren't any collections then, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start buying it. So that's when I started. I've been buying Love and Rockets since about 1986, but I wasn't really into it before then. I don't even remember what issue they were up to by then. Probably like 20 or something. But I've been buying it ever since. Got the latest issue last week.
Mm-hmm. What are they doing now? Kind of.
Well, if you remember last week, I said that was the issue that I think was dedicated to their mother. Mm-hmm. So Gilberto does a much wider variety of things. He does a lot of Palomar stories, but that one was about the two people who were in love on the beach. Very sweet story. So I think it was dedicated about his mother. And Jaime's been doing these female-led superhero stories, if you can call them that. They're like Mexican wrestler superhero Jaime Hernandez stuff. So he's been doing a bit of that. But he also does like grown-up Maggie and Hopi stuff. Like Maggie and Hopi are middle-aged women now doing their thing. So I think that's less appealing to young women than teenage Maggie and Hopi going to see bands was. And he split up Maggie and Hopi for decades. I mean, I remember when I went back and read Locos 1 and 2, which is the complete collection of all that stuff. It's like Maggie and Hopi, because I can remember back in 1986, my friend Sue saying, I hope they get Maggie and Hopi back together again. Because he had their stories kind of split off. And they just stayed split off. They just stayed split off until they were grown-ups. Like 10 years later, they had them. It was crazy. But he's gone back and told some younger Maggie and Hopi stories every now and then. But those are, I think those are the most beloved Jaime Hernandez stories, are the young Maggie and Hopi stories. Mostly collections here, but many editions. I count 4 here, so I probably have lots of missing and lots of doubling. Yeah, They've printed in lots of different formats, but I have those big oversized ones. Let me show you one.
The incomplete collections, yeah.
Which might be out of print now.
Mm.
But there's Locos 1 and Locos 2. And these collect all of what Hopi and Ray is a giant collection of one of the most humane cartoonists alive. Yeah. So this is all the Maggie and Hopi stuff in 2 volumes, but this came out. This must be 20 years old now, too. 2009. And the first one came out a few years before that. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're out of print.
Mm-hmm. Well, Timey-Wimey and Limey didn't know about Locos.
Ah, damn, another one. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if those are in print anymore, but those are the ones I got that have, I think those are like the complete Maggie and Hopi stuff. But like there's also lots of Beto stuff, I think, that hasn't been reprinted.
Mm. Now, Fantagraphics should keep a Love and Rockets library of available titles.
They got a lot of stuff in print. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff in print. So, and Beto's done a lot of stuff outside Love and Rockets. He's done all these little graphic novels. So, those are good too.
And of course, there's Mr. X.
Then there's Mr. X. Talk about old. Matter of fact, I think I have a new. Is there a new Beto one I have to read, or do I read it? I think I read it. That's right, Lover Boy. Not a new one, but one I didn't have. It's like, where did this come? Beto is much more prolific than Jaime. So there's more stuff to chase down if you missed it. And it's easy to miss it. It comes out in so many different formats.
Yeah, that's why I don't know which should I pick up first, but I'll manage.
Just pick up anything. Though I think the Kindle just got rid of a bunch of my volumes of Love and Rockets that I bought on sale on the Kindle years ago. Timey-Wimey Limey says, eBay to the rescue. I wonder how much Locos 1 and 2 are on an eBay. It depends if they're in print or out of print or whatever's going on.
Did you check out Dollar Bin Bandits interviewing Walter and Wheezy?
No, I didn't check that one out. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah,
I don't think I've subscribed to that.
Yeah, you remember that you found them and but I was the one to subscribe to them because I noticed they had a bunch of good interviews.
Wonder if
and they talked a little bit about working together and doing and Wheezy doing the death of Superman.
I think I follow him on Facebook and not YouTube for some reason. I don't know why. Weird. Well, we should wrap up for the evening. Get Paolo to bed.
Well, it's still early. It's not even 1 o'clock.
We're probably going to be on this channel again next week, I would guess.
Yeah, let's see if this. I'm going to try and the things do get backed up in StreamYard. In any case, I did a restream. I created a restream account in case we need to go there because they still have 20 hours. I may have to try to do a test stream and see if it works. So
I'll have to look into mine to see if that thing about. Yeah. But we can always do every other week once we. I don't know, every other week or 2 weeks on, 2 weeks on. We'll figure it out.
Right.
But next week we will definitely debut the full color Little Lotta 121 comic to a cover that doesn't exist. I mean, cover to a comic that doesn't exist, which is funny because that's the name of my series that I do of all those Dreams of Things covers. I call them covers to comics that don't exist. And now here's a real sort of Little Lotta one.
maybe you should try to do a different cover that kind of looks like that little Lotta, but in your style.
Yeah.
See if you could do that.
Huh. Very nice. But we'll debut this at next week's show.
That's right. Well, thank you all for joining me and Jared in on my channel, even if some of you had to trundle through MMA artists to get to me. I should probably rebrand. I wanted to have a different name. I'll see what I can do about it.
Comic book genius. Mm-hmm. I like the sound of that.
No, I came up with what I think is a good name for what I do in that really is really connected to comics. So I was going to call it Paulo Costa Comics Perspectives.
Okay,
I think it works.
Well, that one's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
That one's not bad. All right.
And join us next week for the cover to a comic that does not exist.
Yeah, you'll be among the first to see Little Lotta 121 because I'm not going to post it anywhere until after our show next week.
Yeah. Great ideas lying around. Yep.
Yeah.
PCCP. That's me.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Keep reading old comics.
And some new ones.